Global Gridlock Report. The ongoing battle against the Sinaloa Cartel's expanding influence in Mexico. The violence and power struggles associated with Mexico's drug cartels continue to escalate, with the Sinaloa Cartel remaining at the forefront of the conflict. Recent reports indicate that the cartel's violent activities have reached new heights, impacting the daily lives of thousands and threatening the stability of regions historically under its influence. The latest surge in cartel violence has led to growing concerns both within Mexico and across international borders, prompting authorities to reassess their strategies in combating these organized criminal networks. Before we proceed, please like, comment, and subscribe to help us with the YouTube algorithm. A surge in violence. The Sinaloa Cartel's campaign of fear. The Sinaloa Cartel, once led by the infamous Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, has continued to thrive despite the capture and imprisonment of its most notorious leader. The organization, now under the leadership of Los Chapitos, El Chapo's sons, has adapted its operations, aggressively expanding its control over territories in northern and western Mexico. This aggressive expansion has resulted in a marked increase in violence, as rival factions and local communities are caught in the crossfire of turf wars and power grabs. Recent reports from the Associated Press highlight how entire communities have been forced to flee their homes, leaving behind everything they own to escape the violence that has gripped the region. The increased militarization of cartel operations has seen these criminal groups employing not only traditional firearms, but also high-caliber weapons and sophisticated tactical maneuvers that resemble military-style assaults. These developments underscore the cartel's ambition to maintain dominance over critical drug trafficking routes and production sites. Local communities caught in the crossfire. The impact of the cartel's violent activities on local communities is devastating. Entire towns have been left abandoned, with schools, businesses, and homes deserted as residents seek refuge elsewhere. Many families have lost their livelihoods and have become internally displaced, living in temporary shelters with little hope of returning home anytime soon. These conditions have sparked a humanitarian crisis, as local and federal governments struggle to provide adequate support to the displaced. Human rights organizations have raised alarms over the deteriorating conditions, pointing out the psychological toll on children and families forced to live in a state of constant fear. The role of the Mexican government and security forces. The Mexican government, under President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, has taken a controversial stance on the cartel violence with his hugs not bullets policy, advocating for social programs and economic development to address the root causes of crime. However, critics argue that this approach has not been effective in curbing the violence, as evidenced by the increasing power and influence of the cartels. Military and police forces have been deployed in greater numbers to cartel-affected areas, but the lack of coordination between federal and local authorities has hindered efforts to dismantle cartel operations. The cartels, meanwhile, have shown their capability to retaliate against security forces, as seen in multiple high-profile ambushes and attacks on police convoys. International concerns and cross-border impact. The growing influence of the Sinaloa Cartel and other criminal organizations has drawn international attention, particularly from the United States, where the demand for illicit drugs like fentanyl and methamphetamine continues to fuel cartel profits. U.S. officials have called for increased cooperation between the two nations to combat the trafficking of drugs and firearms, as well as the flow of illicit funds that finance these organizations. The cartel's activities have also strained Mexico's relationships with other countries in the region, as the spillover effects of violence and drug trafficking extend beyond Mexican borders. Central and South American countries have reported increased cartel presence, further complicating regional security dynamics. Looking ahead, what's next for Mexico? The future remains uncertain as Mexico grapples with how to effectively address the pervasive influence of the Sinaloa Cartel and its counterparts. With violence showing no signs of abating, there is growing pressure on the Mexican government to rethink its strategy. Many believe that a more aggressive and comprehensive approach is needed, one that involves not only law enforcement and military measures, but also international cooperation and significant reforms within Mexico's judiciary and political systems. As the situation continues to develop, Global Gridlock will remain committed to bringing you the latest updates and in-depth analysis on the ongoing struggle against Mexico's cartels and the broader implications for regional stability.